Give me your purse, now!
That's my purse.
Don't be afraid to shout it. That's my purse! Try it again.
That's my purse! I don't know you!
Oh.
Oh, the life of the wife of a cop makes my head spin around like a top.
Oh my god, he's musical battling us. I've seen it a million times.
I feel like Bobby Hill walked so that Gene Belcher could truly run. Bobby and Gene are hands down my favorite characters from both of these shows, from King of the Hill and Bob's Burgers. They are lovable goofballs who are silly and eccentric, and they offer all of the comic relief that you could ask for in fun and silly entertainment. One would say they are the entertainment. But the world that Bobby Hill grew up in just wasn't ready for Gene Belcher yet, and I really believe that he paved the way for him. And we're going to talk about that today. Apparently I'm too stressed, so I'm gonna take some of these Ollie's stress gummies, and they actually work. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't think they were gonna do anything the first time I took them, but they did. And this is not sponsored. This is just a free promo that I'm giving Ollie. But Ollie, if you want to sponsor a girl, your gummies are actually effective. The goods inside, it's got GABA, L-theanine, and lemon balm extract. It doesn't taste the most amazing, but it doesn't taste bad. All right, that's enough of that. Oh my gosh, I totally forgot. I have been so excited about this video because I love these characters so much that I forgot to do an intro. Hello friends, and welcome to my commentary corner. If you're new here, welcome. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for coming back. I love having you in my corner. That intro is starting to grow on me. I'm pleased with it. Okay, so we're gonna jump into it now. I feel like Bobby and Gene are both boys who understand that sensitivity and masculinity can go hand in hand. They don't need to be mutually exclusive. But unfortunately, I think Bobby's eccentric personality was misunderstood and even shunned at times within his own family dynamic. Meanwhile, Gene grew up in a world that left all kinds of room for his big personality. And if only Bobby could have also had the same privileges. This is not to say that Bobby had this awful childhood. I think Bobby had a great childhood, but I do think that he very much grew up in a different time, in a different place, with just different values and all of that set into his family and in the community. So things were looked at a little differently. To be a growing boy, to be a man, was viewed differently. But that's not to say that Bobby had an awful childhood. Far from it. He had very loving parents. Hank and Peggy are wonderful, and they did the best with what they could. I mean, Hank could have turned out to be a much, much worse man and father than he did with the kind of father that he had, and he didn't.
You're not even good enough to be married to my worthless, nothing of a loser son.
Hank truly provided for his family and for Bobby, and though he was a bit on the stiff side, a bit more stoic, he still loved him deeply and sought to understand him despite the challenges. So this is not to say that I think Bobby just had this awful and traumatic childhood, because he did not. But it certainly wasn't as understood or as easy for him as it is for Gene. So diving into their personalities, I feel like they're the designated goofballs of their world and their family dynamic and all of that. They're eccentric, they're different. Bobby loves performing and clowning around and just being silly.
Oh, what did I eat? Please, everyone, avoid the nachos. Oi! Oi! Don't worry, everybody, I'm fine. Oi!
And sensitive and all of that.
It's only natural to be sad.
Gene also leans toward this performative lifestyle. He loves musical theater and playing his Casio and just being more artsy-fartsy. I feel like they're both the emotional and comedic heartbeat of their shows. There is a group of people that hate on Gene, and I feel like he doesn't get nearly enough appreciation. At first, Gene was a bit on the annoying side because he's just a lot, but I feel like he's grown so much, and he very quickly became my favorite character in Bob's Burgers. But I feel like they're both instantly likable for their charm, for their wit. They're filled with pop culture references and endless jokes, and I just feel like they're easy to get along along with, you know? They don't take life too seriously, and I appreciate that. They're also very genuine. They're exactly who they are, and I feel like we could use a whole lot more of that because a lot of us don't enjoy being ourselves. We don't like ourselves. I struggle to like myself and my personality. And so it's refreshing to see people, even if it's just a character in a TV show, who exemplifies what it is to just be proud of who you are. So we love to see it. Diving into some of the big differences in just their environment and all of that, the father dynamic is a big part to play in all of this. Because for both of them, their mothers are very supportive of who they are and all of their endeavors. But I think the big difference is between Hank and with Bob and their acceptance of their sons. Hank struggles with Bobby's personality because it doesn't fit the mold of the typical boy and him liking more of a rough and tough ideology. He doesn't really enjoy sports. It's, not really football, except for that one time when he got into football with the Texas Longhorns, and that literally made Hank's life because he finally felt like he had a normal boy, which I hate that because it's like Bobby is a normal boy, even if he doesn't like, these typical masculine things. Bobby leans more towards these feminine interests, which that's a stretch because, like, for instance, one of the biggest ones is cooking. I mean, of course, that's just always been kind of assigned with women and just gender roles and all of that, but Bobby enjoys it. He baked a cake, and this disappointed Hank.
I can bake!
Bobby? Are those oven mitts?
I've baked a cake.
What? No.
I think cooking is something I could be good at.
And it's ironic, I still haven't gotten there in the show yet, but of course Bobby becomes a chef, and it's just really cool to see that he was able to follow that passion. But it's like something that should be completely neutral for any human being, like an activity that should be enjoyable for anyone, boy, girl, man, woman, whatever, was misunderstood by Hank, and he discouraged it, and that broke my heart a little bit. I'm interested to see how it will progress, and of course how Bobby gets to the point where he really is cooking. And something that I've noticed with Hank is that there will be things that he doesn't understand. And at first he is not about it and makes that known, but he does grow and he learns, and I can appreciate that.
Bobby, wait. Go, Bobby.
So it definitely led to a bit of a strain between Hank and his son.
You're my son, well, with everything that entails, feelings of fondness and more, you know what I mean, don't you, boy?
No.
You, family. You're not making this easy on me, boy.
Bobby definitely seeks his father's approval, which is a tale as old as time. Of course, you want to be loved and understood by your parents, and especially with a son and their father, or mother and daughter, whatever, like just this desire to be accepted and understood. And if they're not, then it causes for all kinds of daddy issues, mommy issues down the road. So it made for their relationship to be a bit tense, but I still think that it had love in it, especially after Hank started softening up to Bobby and sought to understand him.
I love you no matter what you do there. Phew!
I'm not just a big disappointment to you.
Disappointment? No, you make me proud. I've been disappointed by just about everything else in this town, but you? Not once. Damn it, you're my boy.
There was an episode where Peggy was encouraging Hank to go and spend time with Bobby just one-on-one, and Hank was uncomfortable with that. And you may think, like, on the surface level, it's like, what the heck? Why would you be uncomfortable with spending time with your own son? Like, this is your offspring. But Hank was uncomfortable with it because he sees Bobby as weird. Like, he's not a typical boy, and what he doesn't understand, he wants to stay away from. And that includes Bobby, unfortunately. And so that episode, Bobby is trying to bond with Hank. It took a minute, but Hank started to soften up towards him. But it's just, I think these are very real circumstances and things that happen in life. And I appreciate it, when they can put that in entertainment and, I don't know, show you just lessons learned from that and how to approach it in a healthy way. So I just thought that, that episode was interesting. And of course, it just continues throughout the show because unfortunately, it doesn't just happen all of a sudden, like they just have a loving relationship because they had a good experience together. But I do think it was a catalyst for pushing them forward and breaking down down some of those barriers that I think Hank put up between him and his son, because, well, it is his responsibility to make that happen, have a loving relationship with his son, especially since it's not from Bobby's side. Like, Bobby wants that, but Hank has a bit of a wall that he's put up. But honestly, Hank has put up that wall in general, I think, to protect himself, to protect his feelings. It's difficult to be vulnerable. I understand men out there. Society is not wanting you to be vulnerable and to be sensitive because, well, it'll chew you up and spit you out. I don't truly understand, and I never will, but I can only imagine what it's like. So my sympathies go out to you. But I think Bobby really had to learn how to be confident in an environment that kept asking him to be different and be something that he didn't feel that he was. To be a boy who likes cooking, likes baking, likes troll dolls in an environment where that is just not cool, not a boy or man thing to like. I feel like Bobby's confidence was almost earned with just a lot of the pushback that he received. And I kind of love that. It probably has made him just a stronger person for it. Now, moving on to Mr. Gene Belcher. Gene is just having, I think, an easier childhood. And, well, he will perpetually stay... How old is Gene? Gene is 11? He's 11. Gene will stay this age probably for the rest of his life, so... But Bob pretty much accepts Gene for who he is from the very beginning. He may not always understand him, but he supports him. Something that I thought of was the episode when he did the Die Hard musical and the one-man show, and he was just like, what is my son doing?
Scene, we're gonna have a fight scene.
Oh my god.
And of course, Linda was like, oh my gosh, it's amazing.
Excuse me. I know, right? He's magnificent.
Objectively, it wasn't, but you know what? That's okay. Like, that was her baby doing his thing. And Bob was also there to support his son. We love to see it. So I do just enjoy how no matter what it is that he wants to pursue, they are with him. The Belchers and pretty much everyone else in town, school mates, all of that, except Gene for his big personality.
Honey, why don't you take that off, huh?
Take what off? That says me now.
Heard that before.
That says me now. That says me now. That says me now.
He is a quirky boy, and that is normal. Granted, everyone in the town is pretty quirky, but, you know, it's just not questioned that he is just an eccentric boy. I think he very much grows up in a world and in a family that is safe for him to grow, and his confidence is nurtured rather than tested.
I taught it to love its country. It's stanky doodle dandy.
Cool. Play something else.
Which makes me wonder if he would really thrive in Arlen, Texas. Like, if he would really do well in, like, the time period and in the place. I don't know who Gene would be if he grew up in those circumstances that Bobby did. Would it dim his light? I don't know. But speaking of just the time period and place and all of that, a really big difference, of course, between these shows and situations is that it was a different time, different place. And someone had mentioned that in a previous video that I did with Hank and Bob, and just kind of comparing the two men and their approach to masculinity and fatherhood and marriage and all of that. Different time, different place. And these are very important factors. Totally agree. They take part in why they are the way that they are. King of the Hill took place in the late 90s. Whoop whoop. There we go. Late 90s babies, where are you at? But as you're aware, if you were born in that time period, which I'm pretty sure a lot of my viewers were born around that time, if not slightly before and all of that, there was still just the more traditional kind of stoic masculinity that was very popular. There was a very fixed way to be manly, and anything outside of that was discouraged in kind of the best of times. The worst of times was it was met with sometimes violence and all of that. And so it just led, I'm sure, a lot of men and boys to just feel unsafe for liking anything that wasn't remotely manly, I guess. And then, of course, for the place, the Hills live in Arlen, Texas, as you're well aware from the very beginning. So they're in the South. And of course, I live in the South, and just a lot of those ideals and all of that are deeply rooted in just how a man should be and look and all of that. So they play a part. Whereas with the Belchers and Bob's Burgers, of course, I believe it's supposed to be based in New Jersey, if I'm not mistaken. And it also takes place in like the early 2010s, you know? So that traditional masculinity was starting to be challenged a bit more. Things were starting to progress, and it just wasn't so strict on what a man needs to look like in order to still be manly. So Bobby, I think, really challenged that norm, and Gene was able to benefit from a lot of that progression. And, you know, I feel like it wasn't necessarily my intention to talk a whole lot about gender and all of that, but I do feel like it's a huge part of these characters, and I feel like they were brought to the forefront because it's just very prevalent in society and in a topic that we talk about. I'm not going to go sharing like every single thing that I think about this. I don't, you know, necessarily agree with everything that we talk about now today. I feel like we've almost gone to an extreme now with how we, you know, talk about just people and gender roles and all of that. I do think that it was pretty clear that we were really hard on men back then, and it's caused consequences because then men didn't know how to open up and just be a human being, and I think it caused a lot of damage that people were not expecting. That's what I will say about that. But I do think that, you know, just what this kind of says about TV and us today, I think that Gene and Bobby show us what it is to be a boy, be a growing boy, and also be vulnerable and sensitive, to be creative, to like musical theater and basketball, to be Troy Bolton. You can like both people. You can like both men. It's okay. You can play basketball and do musical theater. You don't have to choose. You know, I think just to pursue these passions is just to be human. I think it needs to be assigned to a man or to a woman. Just do what you love and love what you do. Moral of the story. But I think that both boys are an absolute delight. They are, did I mention my favorite characters? I'm gonna say it again. But anyways, that's what I've got for you today. If you enjoyed this video, please don't hesitate to like and subscribe so that you can get the alerts for my videos. Of course, I do Bob's Burgers commentaries, you know, burger talks, and I'm also bringing in King of the Hill and doing some crossover videos with that. If you guys have any topics that you would like to hear me talk about, you can put that down in the comments below. Also, you can hit that subscribe button simply to see this face a whole lot more. I've enjoyed having you, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye!